Hello and welcome to Series 2, Episode 1 of Prophetic News 2025. Jude, do you have interesting news for us?
We do. And Happy New Year to you, Marcus, and to all our listeners. Hopefully everybody has had a nice new year and see what 2025 brings us.
Yes, and the same from my side. Well, Jude, I got an urgent call from you that you have important news to let our audience know about what Spirit said.
Yes. So when I gave you that call, I had a small amount of information, but they kind of added to it quite quickly. So parts of it was really important that we got it out now because it's going to happen very, very quickly. So I'll make a start with everything that Spirit has gave us, and then as always we'll have that chat afterwards. So for the beginning of our predictions this for 2025 is the first one. I think there's more to come. They talk about shared space, victories coming. Now, to me right now, that didn't mean anything because I didn't know what they were talking about, but I felt very drawn to Google shared space as to and it talks about the little cities and the little towns that the governments are trying to control. So when they talk about victories coming, I feel it's maybe to do with that, as in it's not going to happen. Also, we've got armband, nation in mourning. There will be a new Pope 2025. Now, this is one of the messages that I was really keen to get out, and it talks about water shortage. And I did question, because of the fires and all the devastation happening in Los Angeles and California, is that what they meant? But they said no, it's still to come. Water shortage. So they've said, remember water shortage. So personally, I'll stock up. So I would advise other people to do the same. We got this last year in 2024, but I'm being told I feel it's between the end of 25 to 26, okay? And they talk about a tidal surge. Italy underwater. Now we also got this last year, and in it I feel it's coming round this year. Princess Anne, health shock, all will rally around her. And last year Spirit talked to us, Marcus, and they were said the first half of 2024 was going to be quite a bit chaotic, but the second half was going to be much worse. They've described 2025 as like a roller coaster, very much like a roller coaster. Now, this is something they were keen to touch on. I'm not sure, I know you don't watch TV, Marcus, so for anybody who doesn't watch, like yourself, who doesn't watch TV or follows social media, a lot of people all over the place, they're talking about these UFOs, these drones that are being seen in either ones and twos or masses of numbers. Spirit are very, very keen to make us aware that they're military. They're military drones, and it's important that they stress that. And it's practice drills. They're doing practice drills, but they're very happy for people to think otherwise because it creates a fear. It creates the unknown. And Spirit very much want to clear that up and explain that it is not out of this world. It is very much military. So I've got Trump and Russia unite and make peace. Mexico. Now, I didn't tell you this one, so I have to share. Mexico infested by locusts-insects. Now that's very interesting because further over I have another message about insects and it kind of counteracts each other, but I have to stand over what Spirit passed, and they've highlighted Mexico for the infested by locusts, insects. Trump's inauguration, war, breaking news. Now his inauguration is on the 20th and this is the 12th, so we've only a week to wait. Now this is another one. Boxing legend dies 2025. And I have been given the name of, but I think out of respect I should not be given names. I just give the genre where it's coming from. Parts of the world will be extinct. World trade is going to collapse. Stock markets. This is another one I thought you'd be interested in. Portals to the underworld start to appear. Tunnels. And I feel when they say that, it's like the likes of me or you would be really into the likes of all that. But this is just with ordinary people that have no knowledge of anything. So I feel it's a lot of that's going to be happening around the world. British police launch an investigation to the cover-up. And for anybody who is not from the UK, there's a lot happening in the UK at the moment, a lot of coverage to do with rape and all sorts. And there has been quite a cover-up. And up until now, our governments have tried to hush, very much tried to put a lid on it, and they don't want that coming out because it's massive, and it is truly massive. But they're not going to have that choice. It's going to be pushed to the stage where the investigation has to go ahead, and it will. Now, this is the one, I was quite shocked at this. 9 years from now, Andrew Tate will be in government. Tables completely switched. Now, I only heard the other day that there's talk of Andrew Tate wanting to run for government, and I thought this must be a joke. This is just fun. He's just having a laugh. But I have to pass, and it's 9 years. So they've stipulated the years, 9 years from now. So that's really interesting. So this is the one we were talking about that counteracted everything. Wildlife disappearing. Insects disappearing, caused by man-made weather. But yet I still will stand over the Mexico because they're isolating it. That's for a reason. New cities are going to be found, Mediterranean. Missing children come back. Tunnels are connected to the travel. And again, I feel like they're coming up in some way. Maybe they have been, we're very quick to dismiss something that might sound a wee bit out there. But if we've learned anything up to now, it's nothing's impossible, and to not dismiss anything because that's what they're used to us doing. So we need to pay attention. So for any of the boxing fans, Tyson Fury is going to beat AJ. Okay, another one about the Tate brothers. The Tate brothers case will be dropped, but there will be jail time. Forces at work. Now we got this last year, and I have to pass it again because it's obviously relevant for this year. The new pandemic 2025. Remember the lessons from the last one. You are in charge. Trust your own opinion. Were you going to speak there, Marcus?
What did you say?
Are you not listening?
I was listening to you. I was only thinking about the last things you mentioned, and I wanted to speak about song when you have finished with this all what you got from the spirit world.
Okay. So they talk about the new pandemic in 2025, and to remember we're in charge, not the last time. Again, I know there was trouble last year and people took to the streets and there was riots, and that was happening within the UK. But people are going to take to the streets again in 2025. There's going to be more riots. Also Belgium and other countries around the world. So it's going to affect the world. Switzerland, financial collapse. Ukraine war ends. Hamas attack June cities. May and August also relevant trouble. Now this was I'm really intrigued by this. Listen, I never dismiss anything Spirit give us. A new mushroom is discovered with unbelievable healing powers. This one I'm still trying to understand, but I know it'll be relevant. Blue and green are very important to everyone. Castles in the sky, pay attention, corporations. And the last one, Rolf Harris case was knowingly covered up. Evidence was always there from the very start. Court cases coming. And then the last thing I want to leave with is they always like to leave a bit of a message. And the message this time, this episode is, we will all be tested in many times, in many ways this year. Many things we will be told which are untrue. There will not be contact with the other life forms this year. There has always been contact with other life form. The elites and governments of your world wish you all to believe their narrative as it gives them more control. We are among you. We have always been among you. Please do not fear us, as we mean you no harm. Your world is not what you are told it is. It does not rotate. It does not spin. Your world is a static, like all planets in the universe are static and they are all held in place. The secrets of the universe are unraveling the truths, which are now going to be told. Follow your hearts. You all must choose what feels right for each of you. Much is changing this year. Ancient times reveal the truth. The true timelines. Secrets cannot be hidden anymore. Remember, we come in love, and we always will come in love.
This is quite interesting. Do you think you channel the spirit world or ETs?
Both. I work with both. I know I work with both. I know I have guides.
I was wondering in our last recording, you had as well a commentary who made me think about who is behind these messages. And I had this question mark on my forehead and was wondering, is it really the spirit world, human beings who passed away, or do you channel maybe extraterrestrials, living beings, mankind-like, and they are observing us? It was not very clear, but with this last commentary, it makes it clear for me. This information seems to be from human beings from other worlds.
Yeah,
Really?
I know I have, I work with light language guides, and I know I work with higher energies, let's call it that. Um, but I also work with spirit and spirit guides. And for anybody to say that they don't, I would challenge that, because we're all connected. And when we talk about being interconnected, we're not just interconnected with our ancestors and our lineage and each other. We're interconnected with forces much higher than ours. And
Yeah.
it's usually the higher powers, the higher forces that, because what I want to say is divine God, source, whatever terminology people want to use, is a higher power. It is a higher power, and we are
All,
multidimensional.
yeah. It is, as you say, we are all one. It
Yeah.
means we come all from source, we are source, we are interconnected. So basically between you and me, there's a different body, a different personality, but you are me. I'm God like you, because we are source, and we are all part of the source of the being what created all, by separating parts from his self. And so it makes for me completely sense what you are talking about, that we are all with all interconnected. Do you know, I would like to go to this, what you said about the drones. I
Yes.
think for sure it is made up for us. People who think a little bit that extraterrestrials come to this earth, they must be more advanced to us. Do you really think they don't have a switch on the drone to switch off the lights of a drone?
You know, plus another thing to look at, do you really think a government and their military is not going to take down something that's of a threat to them, that's unknown?
Yeah.
It's scary. They're doing two different things. They're training, they're doing their skills, they're training, but at the same time, it suits them for people to be worried or scared, because it's building that that fear factor again, where we need help, we need support, we need to be protected, and it's wrong. It's wrong. There's more going to come out about those. There's more going to happen and come more to the surface again. And remember last year we talked, I'm not sure what episode it was in, but in one of last year's episodes, we kept being told messages about Knightsbridge. And at first we weren't really sure what Knightsbridge was, but we passed because it was given. We always pass. And it, as the episodes, as we went closer through 24, Spirit talked more about it, and Spirit shared that talked about Knightsbridge, they talked about Hyde Park, they talked about government, and lo and behold, the MOD is in Hyde Park, and they talk about, the old foreign ministers that deal with it. They talked about, they gave names, but they talk a lot about that there, and it all makes sense, Marcus. It all makes sense. And for anybody who hasn't seen all the previous episodes, Spirit are very much building a big picture, and they've been building on it every episode, and they will not tell you something that's not true. I know I say Spirit, but I work Spirit, and I, even though I have higher guides, I still see them as my Spirit guides. I still see them in that form. So, if we want to really get into the nitty gritty of it, our angels and our archangels, and they're beings of light. You know, we see them in we can see, or they're shown to us in a form that doesn't scare us, because that's what our mind is telling us they look like. But when we strip back all those, that the drawing and the creation of what people try to show us, they're beings of light, and they're from a much higher source. You know, so that's a good way to explain it, so people don't go, oh gosh, didn't know that. They don't mean us any harm, and they have been amongst us for a long time. Long time. Yeah, they have.
I remember that I mentioned that we have of 200, 300 years old paintings, like of flying ships. And when we see what in Egypt 2,000 or 3,000 years was painted or cast in stone, we see as well things we would easily interpret or recognize as something what is a UFO.
Yeah, and even those drawings, like the engravings and the drawings, you know, I'm not sure if we touched on this last year, but we've talked about this, me and you, we've talked about it, and we've talked about, you know, the timelines being wrong, about, you know, the pyramids, the timelines for the pyramids were wrong, and there was other places, and then it came out after a while that the timelines, scientists had got the timelines wrong. So when you look, it goes back even further, much, much further. And the architect, the drawings, like the engravings, that's very, very detailed. You know, for them, that's very detailed. Of what?
Do you know, I have a completely different idea about our past. And I think in hierarchies, no, how would you say in English? In higher positions, they know all these stories, what we should know about the past. There's something more behind it. It goes further back time to around 12,500 years ago. Before the big flood came, I think extraterrestrials, they have many extraterrestrials had a base here on Earth. And we were living with them together. We were maybe far behind them, but there was much more than only a new beginning of mankind. Basically, the big flood was something to wipe out beings from this planet. They shouldn't be here.
It was controlled, that flood. But do you know what else? So for people who really are skeptical, or, you know, they can go and they can research themselves, and I think the more spirits share, the more intrigued people get. But you see, when they touched upon, so you'll know, and I know that, but I don't know if everybody else knows this. So this new mushroom that's been discovered, I believe that's higher forces, our governments, the elites, they have that. And, you know, for anybody, and you can go and research this, and it's all completely honest. There's parts of the DNA of a mushroom that cannot be found in this world.
Could be. I think this, what we have here on living beings and plants, they came from all over the galaxy. If we can see starships on all paintings, what we definitely can recognize as something what is flying through the sky with human beings inside, for sure they have plants maybe, or living beings, and they were here on Earth free and growing. And I think all what we have here on Earth it came to a big part from the galaxy, from other planets.
If you look at all the other mushrooms, all the mushrooms have good, really strong healing properties.
Yeah.
But there's a part within the DNA of a mushroom that is not of this world. When you go into the DNA of it, it comes from out of this world. Yeah. And you can research that. It's really interesting. But I think a lot of the stuff, I think when you look at when you look at the old buildings and you see underneath cities being found, different things, you know, and we've talked about this in the past, it's very much the old world. It's very much what people have tried to hide, what people have tried to cover up and create as being their new.
Yeah, old world, but not primitive.
No,
they figured out in these cities, underground cities, that there's a specific frequency, 110 hertz. Imagine when thousands of people are living under those circumstances. In these underground cities, there must be a lot of complicated situations. But this frequency, 110 hertz, calms down people. So when you have nowadays many people together, there are problems, a lot of problems, because no one has enough space, and this old cities under the ground with thousands of people, it seems they knew exactly how to calm down people on a natural way. If you look at what happens inside you when you listen to 110 hertz, it makes you calm, it makes you thinking, it gives you a quiet time. And
that's what they changed. They also changed the frequencies. They changed the I'm trying to think, it was 300, I'm trying to think what it was, but they changed the frequency. They changed it from it. I'm trying to think what it was. But the elites and things have changed, the different frequencies, the different vibrations, in the sense where when you look at the old towns, the cathedrals, the different, they worked off a slightly lower, it was different frequencies, and it's been changed and altered now.
Yeah, they say it was the Nazis, they changed it. Another side said, no, it was the United States. It had to do with the left and right brain side. That was through this frequency more active, right and left side. So one is more emotional and the other one is more clear thinking. And so they chose a frequency that takes away the emotional, or what lowers the emotional side of your brain. It is getting less active. And so this came up in the 1930s and 40s, that all basic music instruments are in a different way vibrating, or a different frequency, basic frequency. And here we can see it is kind of manipulation of people.
That's what I was going to say. When you go back, way back into different centuries, and it's always been control. There's always been a level of fear. There's always been, like you take mediumship. When you go back in time to mediumship, it's looked as frowned upon, it's seen as wrong. But yet, going back even before that, from the 1800s, go way back to whenever the Bible was written, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, they were mediums. You can call them like prophets, you can call them just philosophers, you can call them disciples, it doesn't really matter the terminology, because if you're channeling, you're a medium.
Yeah.
So, it's very wrong as to what can be accepted. That's channeling. Those 4 books were channeled by the Holy Spirit or higher sources. But you couldn't be a medium because you were a witch. You would have been, so again, it was all about control then. I'm studying the tarot at the moment, and the tarot was something I was never really into, but I'm really into it now. And the tarot they talk about just the playing cards, the ace, the diamonds, they are the tarot. They were the tarot. Just, your playing cards, and they originated from the Islamic, the playing cards. So when you think of the different things, everything's been about control. It's what we're being fed and what people want us to know and believe.
Exactly. But here's an interesting question is, when we were every time manipulated from, and let us say, elite, and this goes back hundreds and hundreds of years.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the agendas, they are spanned over a time from 150 years. No human being lives 150 years. In average, when we work, let's say 40 years. Do you think a living being or a powerful organization with living beings, human beings, makes plans that they can't see the results during their own lifetime? No,
Yeah.
because it doesn't make sense. If you have a plan, you want to see the results, to see an advantage of your plans. But when the plan is taking time, 150 years, you can't enjoy the result. I can't enjoy the result. Behind this, there must be something what has a lifespan what is much longer than our own one. And here, I think we have to do it with intelligent beings. They are maybe not in bodies, or they live a much longer time than we do it in general.
Well, when you look at the Bible, Spirit always, my guides, I'm going to say my guides because I'm going to mix people up with, so I'm just going to say my guides. When we look at the Bible, my guides talk about the book of holy codes. And when you read the Bible, Moses, Jacob, they're living for 130 years, 150 years, like what you're saying, that, they live for this long time and they bear children at 130 years, 140 years.
Maybe they were not from this planet.
That's what I was going to say, because they do stipulate that the Bible is the book of holy codes. And when you break it down, it's, when you look at it in a way that, I understand you've got the Quran, you've got the Torah, you've got the Bible, but what happened back in those days, it was brutal, like stoning people to death. It was brutal, but you have to come up to date, and society teaches us that you can't stone people to death. You have to modernize it in that sense. But when you look at the book itself, it's giving you much more than what people are saying. And Spirit always say to pay attention. It's like a photograph. We look at a photograph and we think we've seen that photograph, But when we really look at that photograph, we'll see that there's things in that photograph that we didn't pay attention to before. And it's the same with what you're talking about. I don't believe that going way back, personal opinion, going way back, that people lived to 150 years of age. I don't understand how that could happen. I don't understand how you could become a father at 130, 135, never mind a woman bearing the child. I don't understand how that could happen unless we're not seeing the big, unless we're not paying attention. And if you go back and you start reading the Bible with a different mindset, things start to fall into place. I think the clogs start to turn, and I think that's where the secret is. Instead of looking at the Bible and thinking, okay, what the narrative is teaching us and what the narrative is telling us, if we go and we start to read it with a completely different mindset, we see it in a whole new light.
Yeah, but do you know, I think the Bible nowadays, it is corrected, or they use modern words that we understand it, and nowadays, and this to modernize the expressions, the words in the Bible takes place since hundreds of years. I think the Bible, what we have nowadays in our hands, can't tell us anymore exactly this what was the idea on the beginning from the original Bible. But there is a possibility to get an original Bible. You can buy it.
Yeah.
So basically, I
Also,
think mhm,
with Spirit's message, what you're saying is very relevant, because with Spirit's message, they have said ancient times reveal the truths and the true timelines, and the secrets cannot be hidden anymore. So I totally agree. I'm very much on that wavelength. I'm very much on that path, because for too long we've all went, that's a bit exaggeration, that's a bit sounds like, but it's not really. It's really not. If we allow ourselves to be very open, we start to see things completely different, and they do make sense if we do it from an open mind.
yeah, yeah. Very interesting, your point of view. As well, we should keep in mind that the Bible is only collected writings from specific sources. There's much more from this time what is not in the Bible. And here you can ask, why? What was the advantage to have not all these parts, existing parts, what could be in the Bible, for example, about afterlife and life and so forth, why it was not inside? Was there someone or something manipulating for his or for an organization, for the advantage of an organization?
Well, my mum's a Christian. My mum's very much into her faith, and she has been since she was 6 years of age. And I'm not here to say anything about anybody's faith or anybody's religion, because we all have an individual right to go with where we feel. But it shouldn't be controlled. And religion, sadly, there's control. There's rules, there's regulations, there's cans and there's can't. You know, like I did it, and I don't. My partner actually said to me, "Why did you do that?" And deep down, I knew I was going to get the response that I got, but something was telling me to do it, and I did. I contacted a church, and I said I wanted to go and attend their church, but I made sure it was very important that I told them I was a medium, and I did from very beginning. And they asked, could they have a meeting with me? Absolutely, I'll have a meeting with you. And they said to me, you know, what you're doing, it's wrong. And I said to them, it's wrong in your eyes because you do not believe in that. But it's not wrong for me because I come from a strong faith of a background. I believe in God, I believe in higher powers, I believe in angels. I believe in all that, and I always have. So your opinion is your opinion. It's not my, we're all of different opinions. So they said to me, you need to stop that. And I said, but I'm only doing what Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John did. And they said, no, they channeled the Holy Spirit. And I said, how do you know they channeled the Holy Spirit? Because I channel the Holy Spirit. No, you don't, they said. And I said, how do you know I don't? And they said, because it doesn't exist. You can't do that. It's wrong. And I said, so 4 of the disciples channeled the Holy Spirit and it was good. I channel the Holy Spirit and it's bad because it's of your opinion. So I said to them, so you're actually saying to people they're not allowed to come to your church because it doesn't coincide with your belief and your rules that you're stipulating. And they said to me, not at all. There's people who come to our church who are atheists. They don't believe in God. And I said, oh, okay. Well, why do they come to the church if they don't believe in God? And why are you not against that? And they said, because we're changing them. And I said, you've just gave the answer yourself. You are controlling them and telling them how they must be to fit in. And that is exactly. And that was I kind of knew that. But for some reason, Spirit, I know they were pushing me to do it. And I would have went to the church. I would have went. I was brought up through the church all my life, up until my teenage years. So I've nothing against, Christians, and I've nothing, because I see myself as being brought up through Christian faith. But at the same time, it's down to control. It's down to people's narratives, people's opinions. And if you don't fit in to that opinion, you're not part of that organization. And churches, chapels, mosques, they're all, you're not fitting in to that organization. So there is a level of control, and it shouldn't be like that, because at the end of the day, if you want to go and you want to pray, or you don't have to be in a church, you can pray, and a prayer is from your heart. But at the same time, it's controlled.
Yeah. The thing is, it was meant to give people a direction from this point where they started to go in a better world. And then some people, they got too much power, and they said, wait a minute, we have to give them the direction in our favor. And now if you see that this part of Italy is one of the most powerful parts in the world, then you see, wait a minute, is it the same what we believed in? Or we speak here about financial power about over human beings. They influence whole countries. The Roman Empire is not disappeared. It has only changed his method in a different way.
Yeah. I have no doubt it all started off, like you say, for the good. People trying to be good and trying to be from their higher self, the best version of them they can be.
Yeah.
But then the power comes into it, the control, and that's where it changes everything.
Yeah, and it is not only in our belief system like that. I have the impression that all old religions went exactly the same way. It was to have a better life, to understand what is between you and God and all these important things, but they got hijacked and misleaded, misused. Jude, it was quite interesting what you told us about your channeled news. I avoid now the term spirits because I think we can channel spirits or beings not in bodies, in type of bodies what we have, but I have strongly the impression this information came from beings, maybe human beings, what came from a different planet. And I think we should have ears and eyes open in which way we have to interpret it and to being open to see what's going to happen the next weeks. I'm looking forward for the next time we have episode 15 of
Episode 2. We're on our new series now.
Yes, okay. Jude, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to hear from you soon. Okay.
Yeah, I'm smiling at your fur, baby. Goodbye, everyone. Speak soon.
Okay. Have all a good time and a lot of success. We hear soon. Bye.